Messenger. I'm Vice President of Community and Public Policy at Fiverr. This session is called Marketing During a Pandemic, something I think everybody at this conference has some experience with. So before we jump in, I want to say thank you, Gali, for being here. I'm excited to start the day by talking with you about this topic. Like I said, it's something that has affected everyone that's participating in this summit, so I know this will be a really interesting conversation. But I'm also excited about it because while we work together, we haven't seen each other or had a chance to connect socially at a happy hour or dinner or anything like that in over a year. And so actually some of these things are things I've been curious about myself and we never really dive into. So it'll be fun on two levels, fun for me personally. So thanks for joining.
Sure, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yeah, good. Happy to be here in our homes.
Yeah.
Here we are, though. Here we are. I'm happy to be here, too, a year into the pandemic and still alive. So here we are.
Yeah, likewise.
So Gali, obviously the CMO of Fiverr. Before we dive into this conversation, I think we need to start out by jumping into our time machine. It's March 2021, but we want to talk a little bit about March-ish 2020, when the lockdown started, and we all had to rethink how we conduct business, how we find new customers, how we reach their current customers. It's been a crazy year, but if you can you go back to sort of the moment when this all started? And I'm curious, what was your first thought on how Fiverr as a brand should react to this sudden change? Lockdowns happening and sort of the murky path forward. How did you react to that? And do you think that your reaction was accurate and really that it played out the way you thought?
Yeah. So you took me back in time to, I think it was mid-March 2020,
yeah.
Where I think we were at the office and we realized that we're probably going to go home and we will not come back to the office tomorrow. The airport closed and there was talks about the fact that the whole economy is going to shut down and people are going to work from home. Everything was so unclear. I think our first instinct was to take care of our employees and our community. I think it was like an immediate instinct. So you don't think about anything else. You just think about the welfare of your employees. You want to make sure they're safe, their families are safe, and they have the right environment to feel comfortable and to feel safe, and at the same time make sure that our community is safe and we provide them with the right resources to continue doing what they love doing, what's important for their well-being, to make sure they can keep on making a living and making a proper income on Fiverr. And all of those things were on our mind as senior management of Fiverr. And I think that was reflected in the first steps we took. So we had, a clear policy for the employees. What do we do? How do we keep on working from home? It was clear that we have all the technology needed in order to support us working from home. And at the same time, we were very, very busy providing the right resources for our community. So one thing we did was immediately created a website that was called SMB Help. It was kind of a hub for businesses, for freelancers. We offered free courses, digital online courses that can help them, provide them resources to kind of move their business online. We provided 24/7 support and consultation and how to move their business, to shift their business from offline to online. It was clear that many businesses that used to work in a certain way needed to adapt and shift and move really, really quickly. And it was very clear that there was a lot of resources and help and guidance that will need to be given to those businesses and freelancers alike. So I think those were the first instincts or the first few steps that we took.
And it's really interesting too, because as a marketer, all the things you just listed were not marketing. They were all the sort of the blocking and tackling of dealing with personnel, making sure all of the team was safe, but then also making sure the community was safe. And it brought me back to a moment when we were having a lot of in-person community activity, actually, and I came to you and I said, we don't know what this thing is, but we don't want anyone to be sick. And it was the same reaction. Let's first and foremost make sure the community is safe. So all of these things that you mentioned, they're not really about marketing. So it seems like your initial reaction was to not necessarily think about the discipline of growing the business. It was, how do we just keep everyone like a family?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that those are the, when things that are so unpredictable, right? And the whole world was kind of shocked. I think we actually saw it in the numbers as well, and it's something we actually released to the market, that the first 2 weeks were 2 weeks where everybody needed to reorganize themselves into this new normal, this new reality. No one knew how long this new reality will become our everyday life. It still is for most countries in the world. For you, for me, for most countries, it's still the new normal for us. And I think the first thing that you do is you make sure that your very close circles, and for us, those were the employees in our community, are safe. I think then, I guess, 1 week into the pandemic, maybe even 2 weeks, we started thinking about reorganizing our marketing activities, our marketing teams, our marketing operation, and we did so many changes. So we did think like marketeers at a certain point, but I think the first few days were about surviving, making sure that everyone is safe, and that we're taking the right steps to ensure that people are having the kind of well-being that is necessary for them to continue and survive. I think later on we realized that for most businesses and freelancers, it can be actually more than just surviving. It can be us actually thriving. They can actually find new opportunities to thrive in this new reality. But I'm sure we're going to talk about it later on.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was thinking, given how long the second half of that question I asked was, do you think the reaction was the right one? And I can draw my own conclusion on that. Given how long the pandemic has lasted, it clearly was the right one to think about those things first, instead of acting like, well, maybe this will just go away in a couple of weeks. Because it didn't, and I think companies that waited to get things in order that way, they were slower to get to the rest of it. Which leads to my next question, which is, can you talk a little bit about some of the specific ways Fiverr adapted its marketing strategies? Sort of once we got all of that stuff out of the way, sort of getting everything organized and being prepared to move forward in pandemic, then how were we able to change our marketing strategies?
We changed in many different dimensions. I think the first one was our marketing mix. So Fiverr has always been a company that, in terms of the marketing kind of mix and channels, was heavily dependent on digital channels, right? We are a very data-driven company where, we are a product that actually lives in the internet and is based on digital transaction, and so is our marketing. It's so this has always been the case, but we were supporting this growth digital activities by a lot of brand activities, from out-of-home campaigns, sponsorships, partnerships, influencers, and so on. And those type of activities needed to change really fast. So I'll give you an example. We had a campaign that was an out-of-home campaign that was already booked in the subway in New York, and in other cities as well. And then what do? I mean, there's no one in the subway, right? And there's no one out there, so no point in having out-of-home campaigns at all. So those were needed to kind of shift and move. We had a sponsorship agreement with an NBA team, Brooklyn Nets. And then there's no more NBA, right? I mean, I think 2 weeks into the pandemic, all the games stopped, and everything. The league just shut down. So obviously, those things needed to change, which actually led to an opportunity because we started to try new channels. So we started testing TV back in June 2020. Proven to be really, really successful for us. We were able to measure it, and we were able to actually drive not only awareness, but actually performance. And then we started doing campaign, not only TV campaigns in the US, but also in the UK, in Australia, in Germany, as part of our international expansion strategy. And they worked well. And that was part of, I guess, the reason that we got the appetite to do the Super Bowl as well as we did in just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a good example. I was thinking, as asking this question about what channels did you decide to turn on, what channels did you decide to turn off, and you've kind of run through them. But the Super Bowl in the middle of the pandemic, I mean, what a big decision to make. What a big channel to turn on.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a channel. I think it's the biggest, obviously, the biggest stage that a brand can ever had. Ever have for a global brand. Right. It wasn't just about the pandemic. I think, this year, and we're going to talk about it later. I mean, we've been humbled to see how many people used our platform, from the freelancers who joined our platform to find work opportunities and to find ways to make a living on our platform, and to make sure that if they lost their job, if they need to earn extra money, our platform was a relevant destination, a relevant solution for them. And on the other side, so many businesses that needed to shift and move from offline to online were able to find digital services on our platform that were relevant for them. So this year has been a landmark year for Fiverr. We've been, preaching for what we call the future of work for the last 11 years now. And I think what the pandemic did is just accelerated the understanding that people can work remotely and that talent is global, and that you can actually achieve so much with working with freelancers remotely and actually acquire or purchase digital services online. And I think,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the Super Bowl was just another milestone in kind of telling a bigger audience this story about Fiverr being at the forefront of the future of work. And in terms of changing our marketing strategy, so we talked about channels and the mixture of our different marketing mix, but we also needed to change our tone, because you can't use the same messages during a worldwide pandemic. I mean, you can't just, everything needed to change. And that was a big challenge as well. I mean, what type of tone do you use? How do you make sure that you promote your business on one hand, because we are marketeers, this is what we do, we promote our business, right? But at the other hand, you support your community and you provide help. And this balance between promoting and selling to supporting and providing resource is also a very delicate balance that was very challenging.
That's a really, really important point about tone, and thinking about, how to maintain sort of your core, project your core values to the world. How to remain sincere without sounding like you're marketing, and it's a huge challenge, and it got me thinking actually about brands. Actually, I was thinking about the Super Bowl, about how after the Super Bowl there's this whole period where everyone talks about who got it right, who got it wrong. So in your sort of Super Bowl mindset, looking at the pandemic marketing, everything from where people were marketing to the tone, who do you think got it right? I'm putting you on the hot seat here, but there are some that did a great job. We don't need to worry about the ones that didn't do a great job, but who did a great job?
Yeah, I think you touched on a very, very important point, and this is being sincere and true to yourself. I think, the pandemic is a reality check. It's something that puts you in front um, of things that are taking you back to basics, to who you are as a brand. So for Fiverr, for example, we asked ourselves, what is the value that we bring to the world? And apparently in the times like this, where the pandemic just locked us down in our homes, Fiverr is bringing so much value. It's bringing value, as I said, to those freelancers that can find work, and for all those businesses that can keep on, keeping their business alive and surviving, and even succeeding and thriving through the use of digital service, promoting their website, building their website, building the digital marketing, and so on and so forth. And this was exactly what we did with our marketing. We decided to celebrate those businesses that were able to shift and adapt and be agile and not only survive, but thrive. And this is what we did with our It Starts Here campaign that started in Q4 last year. And this is what we did with the Super Bowl, with celebrating the Four Seasons Total Landscaping business and Marisa Ravo, which is also going to be in this conference. So that, I think, this is us. We want to be the backbone or the resource or a solution for businesses in difficult times and in great times, right? And I think brands that were able to capture their real purpose, the value that they bring to the world, and hopefully the positive value, because to be honest, not all brands are doing just great things in the world, and I think that those were the brands that nailed it. I think not even talking about the Super Bowl, I think a good example would be Zoom, and how they reacted really, really quickly when the crisis started. They were giving everyone, they opened their platform and they were giving everyone 45 minutes for free to speak to their loved ones, because they understood how necessary and how essential their solution is for people to connect with each other and communicate with each other. And I think there was a lot of other examples. I think the brands that were really kind of consistently looking to the way that they can add value and contribute to their communities were the brands that did it right.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, particularly about Zoom. It wasn't even a marketing, campaign. It was just something that they did that reflected their values and they knew would be really helpful for people, and it had a huge impact. So that was great. So shifting gears just a little bit, 2020, beyond the pandemic, it also brought us huge social justice movements happening, not just in the United States, but around the world. And they were so big and such a big part of the news cycle that I think it would have been reckless for brands to ignore them. So, how did Fiverr tackle that? How did Fiverr sort of see, our place in that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I'll tell you why. I mean, Fiverr purpose as a brand is to provide opportunities to everyone in the world to build their business, brands, or dreams. And it's not just, a sentence. It's something that we do 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And why? Because our community, our sellers, our buyers, coming from more than 160 different countries. And if you really think about it, when you are a freelancer on our platform, you are not being judged or measured by your life circumstances, by your ethnicity, by your gender, by your formal education, all those things that, are so crucial in the everyday world, where you come from, where were you born, and what is the kind of, the circumstances you come with, right, are so essential in the real world. But on Fiverr, what matters really is how talented you are, how skilled you are, and what's the level of service you're giving to your customers. And that's it. So, it's in a way leveling the playing field for so many people. And it makes them equal. They all start from an equal kind of position. And the same goes for businesses, because on our platform, if you're small, if you're a medium-sized business, you have access to talent, with great value for money, global talent from all over the world. And we are, in a way, democratizing talent for so many people. So I think, when you talk about social justice and Black Lives Matter movement that we saw in the US, for us, it's the reality. It's not something we talk about in our messages and we talk about it in marketing deliberately. It's just who we are. And our community is basically the core pillar in everything we do in marketing. So if you look back at all our campaigns, they're all empowering and celebrating our community. We use real community members in all our photo shoot, TV campaigns, even the last Super Bowl campaign. It wasn't about another celebrity. It was about a real business, a family-owned business by a woman who did it, almost by herself and with her family, obviously. So I think for us, it's the everyday reality, and what we're trying to do with our marketing is to celebrate that and empower this diversity, and the fact that we are a platform that is providing opportunities to so many people, and we're celebrating that, and we're very, very proud of that.
That's great. Yeah, I'm proud of it too. So the audience here, is made up of obviously a lot of marketing professionals, small business owners, and entrepreneurs. And I was thinking about how Fiverr is really transformed. It's an 11-year-old company now, and it's grown so much to be this, the large company we are today. Even the growth through the pandemic has accelerated. But how do you think, in terms of talking to this audience, how do you think about the change, from being that nimble little startup to being this much bigger international player when it comes to marketing? How much really changes in your mindset and approach? I mean, certainly the opportunities change and the budgets change and all those kinds of things, but what really is the big difference?
Yeah, I think the basic principles do not change, and that's something that I think every marketeers need to remember. So you can say, yes, it's easy to say when you have a large budget, but obviously a large budget is different than a small budget, right? It depends on the way you actually look at it, right? Because and I've been working with small companies, and I've been working at Fiverr, which is now a very large company, with a huge opportunity ahead still. But the way I look at the budget, for example, the marketing budget, is the same. I look at it and I'm saying to myself, I need to optimize every single dollar on my marketing budget. And that's true when you have $10,000 and when you have $10 million. And this is the way we've been managing it. So we have very, very, as I said, very data-driven company and team. We have an amazing growth team that is working all the time to make sure our budgets are optimized in the best way. So we get the best return on investment in every channel. What does it require? It requires measurement systems and tools and the ability to actually track every dollar that you invest. It requires attribution models, and attribution models can change from one business model to another. It can be last click, it can be first click, it can be multi-touch attribution models. You need to obviously choose the right one for you. And you need to make sure that you are creative, and creative in a sense of managing your marketing mix in the best way possible. You need to be ahead of the curve to innovate all the time, to try new channels, but you need to use your budget or to manage your budget in a way that will respect every dollar out of it.
Yeah, I was trying to listen to your answer with my small entrepreneur ears, and it actually it really makes a lot of sense. It's like you have just because you have more dollars, you have more dollars, but you have larger goals. If you're a small startup, you have smaller goals. You set near more achievable short-term goals, and you have to maximize those dollars. And if you're not measuring it, if you can't attribute your spend to your growth, you're lost. You're lost as a small startup, and you're lost as Fiverr.
Yeah, and that's something I would set at the very, very beginning. I think the second thing you need to do as a small startup, but stays the same when you're big, is to make sure you have a clear mission, purpose, and brand identity. And I think sometimes when you're 10 people startup and you're sitting in the garage, you're saying to yourself, well, really, I will sit here and I will define my purpose and my mission and all those cliches. And the answer is no. It doesn't matter if you're 10 employees startup or 1,000 employees. You need to have a clear, big, inspiring mission, purpose, and brand identity. And obviously it can evolve through the years, just one example, worldwide pandemic. But I think the fundamentals of having a clear North Star and understanding where you need to go is so crucial. It doesn't matter what's your size is and how small or big you are.
Even if the exercise is learning to think consciously about it, as you point out, it can evolve, but going through the exercise of putting your head, taking the time and putting yourself in that space and signaling that you have values as a company to the world is gonna be a great investment, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And I think the third thing is that you need to find what differentiates you. I mean, for Fiverr, if you think about it, in the first 5 years, we didn't invest almost anything in marketing. It was such a strong viral viral product, and we had such a strong network effect just by our community, by the fact that our sellers were bringing more sellers, that were bringing more buyers. And I think every business can have this inherent viral effect or network effect. You need to make sure you find it. You encourage your community, your buyers, your customers to make sure they use it or that you use it in the best possible way. But I think there's so many ways to drive traffic in organic ways or to drive demand in organic ways. You need to make sure you identify them and then that you promote them in the best way possible.
Makes a lot of sense. I hope people were taking notes on that one. Okay, so I guess the last question for me, we're running up here on time, but I guess the last question is just what's next for Fiverr? I mean, I feel like I have a sense for it, but with the audience here, so everyone's curious.
Yeah. So we're here in the Fiverr Business Conference. Fiverr Business is a very, very strategic initiative for us. It will allow teams to work together, to collaborate, and to work with their freelancers on our platform, which is really, really, really important, especially now when companies need to be more flexible with their headcounts and with the structure of their teams, and they're able to extend their teams using freelancers. So I think Fiverr Business is definitely something you're going to hear about, not only today, but a lot in the future. We're expanding internationally. We launched the platform in 6 additional languages this year, and you're going to see us expanding to more countries and to different markets, which is for us in the marketing team is really, really interesting and fascinating, how you actually penetrate different markets. And you're going to see us innovating a lot in every frontier, on the marketing side of things, on the product side of things, which we did in an amazing way in the last few years. Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
But not much is what you're saying. Just, just business as usual.
That's the usual. Yeah.
Conquer the world, multiple languages, multiple cultures. That's incredible. So that's about all the time we have. I want to thank you, Gali, for doing this with us. Super fun to get to chat with you like this. And for everyone that tuned in, we obviously have an exciting agenda ahead. Lots more to do today, lots more sessions to attend. So stay tuned, and we'll see you around. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Brent. It was fun. Bye.